So a few weeks ago, I was up at Sweetwater working on a project and was walking around the store there looking at some of the guitars they had on the wall. And this one caught my eye. This is an Epiphone. It's the 150th anniversary of the Zephyr Deluxe Regent. And I've actually been kind of secretly looking for a big jazz box for a while because I don't own anything like this. And I think they're pretty cool. In the last few weeks, this guitar has actually seen the most play out of all of my guitars for a few reasons, which I'll go into in today's video. I think these types of guitars are a ton of fun. They're incredibly versatile, and I think there's actually a case to be made for owning something like this, even if, like myself, you're not a jazz guitar player. So in today's video, I'm gonna show you why you might think about picking something like this up for your own collection. And actually, interestingly enough, when I brought this home, my production assistant, Chris, said, "Oh, my dad has an old one of those." And sure enough, I mean, obviously you can see the similarities here. This is the new one from 2024. We believe this one's from 1949, 1950. And obviously there's a few differences here. This is cutaway, this is not cutaway, but for all intents and purposes, they're the same guitar separated by, what, 70 some odd years? We're gonna shoot them out and see how they sound together. Now, before we jump into the video though, I want to quickly thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Sweetwater. I'll have links down in the description box below to this guitar and some other cool Hollowbody options in different price points. If you're interested, those will be affiliate links, which means if you purchase something through that, I will earn a small commission. It doesn't cost you any extra, and it goes a long way in helping me keep going here on the YouTube channel. Sweetwater did give me this guitar as well for the video, so thank you to them for that, and thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. So with all that out of the way, let's hear what this thing sounds like. So if you're like me and you see these big electrified archtop guitars, you immediately think of jazz, specifically from the era of like the 1930s through the 1950s. And there's a very good reason for that, which is that at that time, the players, whether they were jazz players or blues or gospel players, these electrified archtops were kind of all that was around. And amplifier technology was pretty rudimentary. There wasn't a wide selection, so they just played what they had access to. Solid body guitars wouldn't have really started to come onto the scene until the early to mid 1950s with the likes of Leo Fender and Gibson. So the reason we think of these as jazz guitars is because during the sort of heyday of jazz, many of the jazz guitarists like Charlie Christian or Wes Montgomery were all playing these guitars because this is what they had access to, this is what they came up on. But these guitars are capable of so much more than just old school jazz standards where you go to the neck pickup and roll your tone off. There's plenty of great examples of early American blues artists like John Lee Hooker, T-Bone Walker, or gospel artists like Sister Rosetta Tharpe using this style of guitar for their sound.
Serves me right to be alone, be alone. Because the life I'm living,
John Lee Hooker actually was known for playing an Epiphone Zephyr, not totally dissimilar from this one or the 1950 model that we have here. So yeah, with jazz and blues, obviously this type of guitar makes sense. But you can go further than that. Because of the sort of woody, big, round nature of this guitar, they're incredible for funk, for example. They've got a very sort of percussive quality about them. And I think the Hollowbody construction lends itself to that too, because you get this big sort of pillowy, woody tone that you just don't get from a solid body or even a semi-hollow. It sounds big. So I'll show you what I mean. If I go to the neck pickup here, you get sort of that classic hollow body sound, right? It's warm, it's round, it's woody, but listen to how much low end there is in this guitar. As soon as I go down to the bridge pickup, the whole character of the guitar changes. We lose that sort of old school jazz feel for something that's more sort of punchy, more woody. And this is what I mean when I'm talking about that sort of funk guitar thing, like a... And then I can even switch to the middle position and do that same thing. So that sound with the bridge pickup or the middle position makes this a great option for that sort of old school meters style funk sound, or some of the early James Brown stuff. My friend Ella Feingold actually talks a lot about this on her Instagram and her Patreon. I'll have that linked down below if you are interested in that style of playing and how to really, really play like the original players and get the sounds right. I highly recommend you check out Ella's profile. She's amazing. And speaking of funk, great players like Wah Wah Watson are known for these big hollow body sounds and using them in a funk context. But even branching out further from funk or jazz or blues, this sounds really cool whenever you add something like a fuzz or a really cool sort of modulation effect. Taking advantage of this big, round, woody sound is cool because it's something a little bit left of center. It's not your typical Strat or Tele or humbucker guitar, for example. Another cool thing about this style of guitar is they're great pieces to have around the studio to record with. Because it's almost equal parts acoustic and electric, you can use that to your advantage. So typically when we're recording an electric guitar for a song, obviously we're either miking up the amp or we're going DI into some kind of modeler or something like that. But with this, you can combine the two. You can mic the guitar up like an acoustic and plug it into an amplifier, either in the same room or in another room, and combine those two signals to get a really interesting sound. There's plenty of great examples of this on records all throughout the years, and it's something that I was looking to sort of add to my studio arsenal here, which is why I was looking for one of these guitars. And that's part of what I love about this thing, is it sounds great unplugged. It doesn't sound fully like an acoustic. It's definitely more sort of mid-rangey. There's this weird sort of EQ curve in it. It's not quite as loud as an acoustic either, and I think that's cool. If I want to track an acoustic, I've got guitars for that, but this is a different thing altogether. And it also doesn't play like an acoustic. So you get this weird combination of sound and feel that is unique to this style of guitar, which I really dig. I've actually been playing this guitar mostly just unplugged around the house. It's been my couch guitar for the last few weeks. Just leave it in the den or over in the kitchen, and anytime I have a spare moment, I just pick it up and I start playing. And that's been great because it means I'm actually playing guitar more throughout the day. First of all, it's beautiful, so every time I walk by it, I want to pick it up and I want to play it and I want to hear it. It also means that I want to learn new things, learn new songs that kind of fit the style of this guitar. But because it has that sort of natural acoustic quality and it sounds good unplugged, not like a solid body electric or even a semi-hollow electric, which are just kind of thin and plinky. Plus, it's not quite as loud as an acoustic either, so maybe you've got a spouse or a roommate or someone that you don't want to bother with your guitar playing. You can easily take this into the other room and just sort of pick on it and play gently, and you're not going to be filling up the whole house like you would with some acoustic guitars, or certainly with being plugged up to an amp. There's a certain feel and a sound that these guitars have, which is unique to this style of construction. And I think it's really cool. So let's hear the 1950. Now this is gonna be a little bit different because this guitar has flat wound strings on it, whereas my new one has rounds on it. Also, these pickups are different. So these are the original New Yorker pickups, and they're actually single coils, whereas the new Epiphone model are mini humbuckers. So these are pretty interesting. There's a cool article written by Curtis Novak that I'll link in the description if you want to know more about these. Each one was a little bit different because they were making these all by hand. They were bending the sheet metal enclosures by hand, and they are single coils. It's basically kind of like a Strat pickup, but instead of the magnetic pole pieces pointing up towards the strings, the pickups actually turn 90 degrees. So the pole pieces are pointing towards the neck and the bridge, and it has kind of a different sound. So those are some reasons why I think you should consider picking up a jazz box for yourself. Hopefully you found out, like me, that they are incredibly versatile, they're a ton of fun to play, and they just look great, which actually is, I think, a pretty important thing for a guitar. If you like the way something looks, you're gonna wanna pick it up more, you're gonna wanna play it more, which means you're going to get better and improve. Thanks again to Sweetwater for sponsoring today's video. Like I said, you can find links to this guitar as well as some other cool hollow body options available on Sweetwater. Those are affiliate links, so if you buy something through that, it supports my channel and I greatly appreciate it. And also please subscribe. It really does help the channel out when you click that little red button and the bell next to it. My name is Rhett Shull. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.